Hello, today I'd like to talk about a misconception in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and the misconception is that it models the brain, the animal brain. The current machine learning systems, they work. They work really well, some of them, but they don't work in the same way that animal brains work. Why should you care about this? The reason you should care about the internal structure of your machine learning systems is that they're trained on training data, which they can memorize very easily. Humans can memorize training data too. You can also write it in a book. It's not hard to memorize the training data. But the testing data, when you get out in the real world, you have to make that up as you go. There's no correct answer for all the test data in the world that you will encounter. That's where the system has to be able to generalize to new situations. And when you have to generalize and extrapolate from the training data, that's when the internal structure of your system really starts to show its true character. Now, a common rebuttal to this argument is that artificial neural networks are universal function approximators. This means that with enough input and output examples of what they should do, an artificial neural network can technically approximate any function, including the brain. However, we are not currently training artificial neural networks to simulate the brain. We're training artificial neural networks to do the end task that we want to get done. But if you want to build a model of the brain, then you either need to know how the brain works, or you need to have a lot of data that was gathered from inside the brain so that you can build an approximation of that model of how it works. But either way, we are not training artificial neural networks to model like neurological data. We're training them on things like examples of how to drive a car. And once you know that these things are different things, that they do not work the same way, then you can start finding the differences and exploiting them. There's something called an adversarial example, which is an image that has been subtly modified so that the AI thinks it's a different thing than the human thinks it is. And every human will say it's one thing, but a lot of AIs will misclassify it as a totally different thing. And once you understand how to manipulate the two systems differently, then you can generate adversarial examples at will, and you can make the AI think it's anything you want. I also think it's important to understand that these things are not the same because there's a risk people will personify them, anthropomorphize their tools, and they are tools. They're just devices. They're not alive in the sense that, you and I are alive. In conclusion, artificial intelligence as it is today is a very different thing than the animal brain. They're very different. They work in very different ways, and the differences might surprise you when they come and bite you, when it fails suddenly in a way that a human would not have failed. They are, to be fair, also capable of doing things that humans can't do. So, it's not all good or bad, but they are certainly not the same.